Oh. First of all, thank you for the money. Thank you for your business. But... Alright, hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. This, of course, is another anime reaction video. Today, we're finally here at the long-awaited, much-anticipated Benizakura arc for Gintama. And you read the thumbnail and the title, right? We're doing the whole thing in one video. It's 4 episodes. We're gonna do this now. I'm very excited, but truth be told, I'm a little bit nervous. You know, I don't always trust the popular opinion on things because who knows? Maybe it's just not my taste. But so far, I've loved Gintama up to this point, and if this is the one of the start, the quote unquote start of Gintama, then I'm incredibly excited to get started. So I'm gonna get started here with a little bit, but first I'm gonna do a little sneak preview of a manga haul video I'm doing later this month for my manga haul for May and June. I know most of you probably don't watch those because you're just here for Gintama, but that's why I'm showing them off now here in a Gintama video, but I'll be showing them again in the manga haul video where I'll be able to give more thoughts on a certain thing. But first thing I'm going to show is that I got another Gintoki figure. Give me a sec, actually. It's been a little while, I think, so for those of you who don't remember, this was the first Gintoki figure that I picked up. I picked it up at like a local shop. Well, local. It's like a 40-minute drive to get there, and then, you know, 40 minutes back to where I live. But I picked this up. It's the first Gintoki, or like first Gintama figure I think I ever saw, and so it's a cute little figure. I like it. And then this is a bit more of like, I guess, a standard figure. They cost around the same, I think. I got this on Right Stuff Anime. I was just browsing. Actually, know what it was? There was a sale on like something Shonen Jump related, I think, on Right Stuff Anime, and this was one of the items, and I was like, fuck yes, I'm getting another Gintoki figure. This one is really nice. You can't tell how like high quality it looks because of the low quality camera. I'll see about taking a picture of it with my phone and editing it in post, but man, it's really nice looking. I'm not very good at like designing, like interior design and making it look good, so I'll have to figure out where I want to put this in the future. Maybe for now I'll put them up here where you can kind of see them, but who knows. And then the last 2 things I want to show before we get into the episodes are my copies of volumes 1 and 3 of the Gintama manga. I ordered 2 because these are also on sale. I ordered the first 3 just to see what's up. 2 was out of stock. It hasn't come back in stock yet, but I really, maybe it's just because I love these characters, but I love the covers. And the spines are really nice too. I like how they give cute little drawings. That's one of the things that's kind of annoying about some spines, is they just take like a cropped version of the image on the front cover, but when they have unique drawings on the spines for like the image parts, are really nice. That's why I like Haikyuu manga a lot, for the spines. But surprisingly, these covers aren't as shiny as I thought they would be, because a lot of Viz is like shiny. Even like, when was this printed? This was, oh wait, no, 12th printing, September 2020, never mind. I guess this is just the way they print Gintama. It's like a lot more matte, if you know what I mean. It's not shiny. But I haven't read any of it yet. I've just kind of flipped through it just to see what's what, you know. But I'm really excited to give the manga a try. I know Viz only did up to like volume 22 or 23, so I'm not going to get the full thing. But either way, I'm going to see about buying more of the manga, because I like Gintama a lot. What else? That's right. This is what I was talking about. Was like, this is something I can't give my really more thoughts than like first impressions on, because of course I haven't read them yet. But if you're interested, I will probably, by the time later in June when I make the May and June manga video, have more to say about these volumes, because I'll probably have at least read the first volume, and then I don't know. I'll go from there, you know. Now, if that stays up there like that, I just realized you're not going to be able to see it. Oh! Okay. It's fine. It's okay. You won't be able to see them anyway when the episode is like in that corner. Can you see it there? Peeking at the shelf just a little bit right there. Anyway, as always, link in the description will take you to the full uncut reaction. I'll probably, because of the size limits on Pixeldrain, I'll probably split it into 2 parts, like the first 2 episodes, like 58, 59, and then 1661. But either way, if you want real quick, head on over to one of those sites, Pixeldrain or BitChute, then you can go ahead and do so, and then come back to YouTube for the discussion. But without further ado, let's get into Gintama. I think that Elizabeth put it well. This is such different developments in the story. It's like I'm watching a different show, but at the same time, it's very obviously still watching Gintama because of all the goddamn comedy. And I said it before, I'll say it again. I'm so fucking predisposed to having a big old smile on my face, ready for the next time I laugh at a joke. This episode, I felt like I had my fucking smile. I could tell because my cheeks hurt a little bit from smiling a lot. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't. I'm not used to Gintama being this serious, and the fact that it's gonna probably go on for the next 3 episodes is just. I need to get ready for that. But in this episode, the beginning of the Benizakura arc, I wanna listen to the beginning part again with the moth. Just so we can, you know, get some more information or whatever. Moth flies in the dark. In the deep darkness, a moth just flies intently. It fears darkness and searches for light. Just intently. Once a moth finds light, it will fly towards it. But that no longer has anything to do with the moth's consciousness. The moth can no longer escape the light. You know what I just realized? Just remembering it. Let me go back just to make sure, though. Okay, so first of all, the fact that it was the same voice narrating that as was the voice for the blind samurai, Nizo, I believe, makes me think he's the one saying that. I'm sure maybe it's just like a random thing that they chose to do. But maybe they did it on purpose, and then I'll have to do something. The first thing I thought when I was re-looking at that little speech or whatever made me think, is that about Gintoki? Because he used to be surrounded by darkness when he was a part of the group that were fighting against the Yamato during the war. But he doesn't want to be in the darkness anymore. He wants to find light, so he's like a moth, just trying to find any source of lightness that he can, so he doesn't have to keep going through darkness where he doesn't want to be anymore, you know what I mean? And then when he finds the light, but then it kind of like, maybe it might kind of like break down what I was saying. Another thing is more consciousness, because when I think about with that line introduced, it kind of also makes me think, was he talking about Takasugi, who was flying he's even more surrounded by darkness, and his version of light. I think my dog's barking. Can you hear that? I apologize for the interruption. Real quick, before I go on with what I was saying about Takasugi, going back to what I was saying about Gintoki. So I was a little bit confused about my interpretation of it being about Gintoki, but now I've realized. Okay, so it could be interpreted as the light being something that's like kind of like a coward's way out, like trying to find a way from the darkness when you really don't need to. There's not really a need to, and besides, once he finds that light, is what this is saying, is like, then it'll be something that you instinctively go to, you don't really know why type thing, but ultimately getting too close to the light will end up with you getting hurt in the future, which could be interpreted as like a commentary on like human relationships, is like people live in darkness and other people are the light out of that darkness, but if you get too close to the light, then you'll get hurt. But it could also be interpreted as Takasugi seeing his light being going through with what he wants, getting revenge or whatever, taking down the Yamato, exterminating them, things like that. It could be interpreted as, and which I'm kind of leaning toward, because that could be like a huge emotional thing too, is where it's like the blind samurai is Takasugi's greatest friend right now, and he thinks Takasugi is going too far or something. But anyway, what was I was like, it could be interpreted as that way, as like Takasugi is trying to escape the darkness of like whatever it was in his past by trying again, essentially. I don't know if what I'm saying makes any kind of sense, but that's kind of how I interpret it. Let's see. They're planning something huge. We don't know quite yet what exactly they're going to do. It might have something to do with the tower. That big tower, the Amanto Tower, that has a lot of energy in it. Because we've seen that a few times. Namely the time with the Umibozu mini-arc thing, where there was a monster that was growing bigger because it was absorbing its energy. I'm interested to see what the plan is going to be for Takasugi. And man, I know Katsuru's not going to die, but they're really, really trying to make me think he will. But let's see. This really was a different feeling episode, because it feels like, because even episodes that are like 2-parters or like even 3-parters, it's like it's just the way that this episode is kind of paced, if that makes sense. It's setting up a lot of things that will there's like no realistic way it could have been finished in an episode or 2. And so that's why it kind of feels different, because usually conflicts in Gintama so far, a majority of them are set up very quickly and are resolved by the end of the episode, if not by the next episode. So it really feels like a different episode. So I'm glad Elizabeth pointed it out in universe, you know? And my favorite part of the episode, it's a little cheesy, I know, but it's gotta be when those comments from Nizo? I'm sorry. The blind samurai. He said that a samurai without a sword is no samurai at all. And then Gintoki hits him with, I still have a sword, and that I keep as a spare. That was really heartwarming. That was really sweet. I like that a lot, even if it is a bit cheesy. Man. At least in my memory, gotta be one of like the only times, if at all, Gintoki's been seriously injured. Maybe it's because we're getting a bit more serious here, but man. Ugh, I'm so scared for Kagura. There's no way she's gonna win this fight. It would be way too easy if she just beat Takasugi this early on. Like if she decided to pull the trigger and just killed Takasugi and that was the end of it. I know that won't happen, but that would be crazy. But anyway, that's all I can think about wanting to say right now. Actually, yeah, no, never mind. I don't know if I'll find it again, but there was some pretty nice looking animation when Gintoki and the blind samurai were fighting again. But it wasn't very long. Either way, it was pretty short too, but we're only like hitting the tip of the iceberg. This feels like a bit more like a traditional shonen type thing with a long series over an arching narrative, but it still has that, you know, Gintama flair of having some comedy, like when Elizabeth was at Yodozuya and they were trying to figure out what she wanted to drink. Ugh, I can't help but smile at an expectation of like humor from Gintama. I'm sorry. But anyway, that's pretty much all I had to say about this episode. We're gonna get on to the next episode, episode 59. Alright. Fucking goddamn, dude. That was another fantastic episode. Oh my god. Getting more into this arc is already amazing. So many the serious stuff has been really cool. I like that the bit at the end. With all the goofiness, they still had that sweet little moment where she knew she couldn't stop him, so she helped him on his way. And real quick, fuck that twist though. Oh my god. I in the moment I was like holy shit. I physically got up. That was like I could not help myself there. I'm sorry. You probably heard the really loud me slapping my keyboard. I'm probably gonna hate watching that back in editing. Because I hate watching myself back in editing. But some really interesting things going on. First of all, the fight with Kagura at the beginning was really nicely animated. I'm glad she's okay, because she has great healing. More really fun dynamics between Gintoki and Tai, and once again, not once, not even for a little bit, that I suspect that freaking the older brother Takuya, I think, not for 1 second that I think he was going to be helping out with that. Which I need to go back to see if I can find if he mentioned his motivation again, because to me at the moment it seems like he's just doing it because he wants to be an amazing swordsmith, even greater than his father, no matter what. Which is an admirable goal to pursue the best you can do within your, like, preferred career path or whatever. I just realized... Excuse me. Anyway, as I was saying, I need to go check that again. Because from that speech with what he was saying about the soul of a swordsmith and, like, their whole being going into the sword is what gets it power and stuff like that. And what was also interesting is to see the motivations for some of the for at least Okada, one of the members of the I forget the name of it already. I apologize. Like Ki something. Kihata K. Keikaku. I don't fucking know. But first of all, the fact that they're not, like, completely unified, they have some, like, disagreements with each other. It's, like, an interesting little tidbit. Which, and I'm not going to rewatch the whole scene, but they all want to take down the corrupt government. And I think, to an extent, that's true for all of them. But it was interesting that, what's his name? Nizo was complaining about them, like, hogging the limelight, so to speak. And getting all, like, the attention and fame and whatever, and them wanting a piece of that too. Because that makes me think that even though they probably still have that goal of taking down, you know, the Imanto and the corrupted government, a part of their motivation to take these rash actions is from jealousy. Not only do they want to take down the corrupt government, they want to be known for it. It's not enough for them to just know that they did a good thing. They want other people to know and praise them for doing the good thing, which isn't necessarily, like, a bad thing. Not at all. I think it's perfectly natural to want to be recognized for what achievements you've made in your life. But I think I'm not saying they're inherently bad people. They kind of are because of their methods. But what I am saying is, to truly be a good person, you know, it has to be more than just what you do when people are watching you, you know? You gotta do things without expectation for reward or attention, and you're not just doing these things because people are watching you type thing. So, I think it's a bit more of an interesting little, like, look into who Nizo is as a person. He seems like, at least based on that, like, he has some honorable, like, qualities to him, but, like, from that sentiment alone, that seeming jealousy of not being in the limelight like Gintoki or like Katsura was during the war, shows that he's, at least in some capacity, a lot more shallow of a person than one might think. Like as opposed to Gintoki, who's willing to do this job for them in the whole Benizakura situation with Tagasugi without accepting any payment for it, you know? And I'm pretty sure he's done that before, accepting jobs without payment, doing things that would be risky for his life and other people's lives, but just doing it because it's, like, the right thing to do, or what he believes to be the right thing to do. But I've talked on that part for too long. And fucking hell, I was not for even a second expecting that twist. I know I don't normally do like a what to expect, like a clip at the beginning of an episode, or like the beginning of a video, to, like, show you what you're in store for later on, to keep people watching for the rest of the episode, like some people do, to, like, grab your attention a lot quicker. But I might do that for this, because that was a pretty big twist I was not expecting, you know? Real quick, though, I just want to go find what dude was saying about his, like, motivations. I have no interest in your plans or your ambition. Swordsman's job is to make good swords. You can only say one thing. There's nothing the sword cannot cut. Okay, so I don't think it was explicitly said. If I end up misinterpreting it later on in the last two episodes of this arc, feel free to correct me. I'm sure people will do it in the comments anyway, which I'm, you know, appreciative of. But anyway, another great episode.
I wasn't spoiled, but while I was looking around to see what people think about between if someone should watch the episodes of the Benizakura arc or the movie, one of the things that I heard brought up is that in the original manga and in the movie, Gintoki... Okay, so, as I was saying, in the original manga and the movie, Gintoki and Tai don't actually walk past each other. I didn't know what that meant, but now that I've watched this episode, I know what they mean. When Gintoki was leaving for the Smith, and Tai was walking past him, apparently that doesn't happen in the manga and in the movie, so the movie's more accurate in that respect, but I feel like it's a small thing. It doesn't really, I don't think, affects things very much, because it's already very obvious that even though she promised Shinpachi and she seems kind of against letting Gintoki go out there in his condition, she knows he'll go anyway, no matter what, so she's just trying to make sure that he's taken care of, giving him his full outfit, lending him an umbrella, her favorite umbrella even. So having them walk past each other, it doesn't really affect things. I think if Sorachi wanted it to be like that in the original manga, and they wanted to keep to the original manga as much as possible, to the point where they changed it up to be more like the manga in the movie, then I think that's fine. I'm all for having the authors get what they want out of their story without having to change things unless they want to change it, not because someone says they have to. But honestly, I don't think it's that big of a change. It's more just like a reinforcement of what we already know about what Tai's stance is in this whole situation. You know what I mean? And I kind of liked it. I kind of liked how it looked, the scene where they walk past each other. I get all the people that ship Gintoki and Tai. Ooh, and you know what? Another thing that's interesting about it is that they don't look at each other, because they don't need to like talk to each other. They both understand how each other feels, you know. And I think also I just realized the bunny umbrella. Rukia would be proud of that umbrella. But I thought it was an interesting little detail how he kept walking forward without looking back, and Tai's the only one who stopped to look back at him to see him off. You know what I mean? I'm not the smartest, but it's like a little shot. It probably has some sort of symbolism that I can't explain because of my small brain. But anyway, that was this episode. That's pretty much all I had to say. So let's get into episode 60 of Gintama. I should not have even doubted for a second that this arc was gonna be amazing. You know, I won't give like examples, but there have definitely been series where I've been very hesitant to try them out because of all of the like insane hype around it, and the insane hype around it that so many people are talking about a series that the discussion about the series devolves to "Bruh, it's a masterpiece," you know, just repeating bullshit and not really going into like why they like it or even recognizing like flaws with it. Even though I'm loving Gintama, it does have flaws with it. This beginning is definitely slow, even if I do enjoy myself. Like, I will 100%, when I rewatch the series in the future, I'm gonna be like, damn, there's a lot of nothing going on. I want to hurry up to the serious bits, right? As much as I'd like to try and say that that's not going to be me, it'll probably, at least at some points, feel that way to me. But man, this arc has been amazing so far. I don't think I'm going to be able to finish it, at least in this recording session. I'll have to watch the last episode tomorrow as of this recording, which I'm recording this on June 8th, by the way, if you didn't know. Wink, wink. I don't know why I winked. It doesn't mean anything. But this episode was amazing. Other than like the 4-minute recap, 4.5-minute recap of the last episode is a pretty perfect episode, because I guess because it's a weekly thing, but still that's kind of like off-putting. But this was an amazing episode. Amazing comedy, amazing drama too. I thought that interaction between Nizo and Takasugi was so interesting. I really enjoyed like that scene. And holy shit, I knew Katsura was alive, but the way he came back, oh, that was so amazing. And Nizo, we didn't get. Maybe we'll get to see more of his backstory in the next episode, but seeing just a little bit of his backstory is enough to make me like him as a character more. Obviously, being a badass blind samurai is already amazing in and of itself, but I think it's always fun to see like characters that are badass also have like, I guess if I had to put into words, softer sides to them. You know, if that's not all what they're about, which I can appreciate. So it's going to be really interesting to see what his backstory is going to be like when we get to see it more in the next episode, I assume. And just all around amazing. I'm so excited for this last episode, and holy shit. Katsura's comeback. I was hoping for an amazing, like really cool heroic comeback because I knew he wasn't dead, but that was just perfect. It was perfectly executed and everything. But I don't really know what else I could say because it's just I'm so excited to see the next episode. But unfortunately, I can't watch it today because I ran out of recording time. Because I know for a fact I won't have time to watch the whole episode, which will be about 24 minutes. About 24 minutes-ish. And then have a discussion about the entirety of the arc or whatever, but it's fine. You won't even know the difference. But man. And their smug faces. You might think, going back to what I said in like the first episode of this arc, when Elizabeth put up the sign, it's like, what is this change in like the stories? It's almost like a different show, which I completely agreed with. And it felt like such a different show with all the stuff going on with, you know, the ship crashing to the other ship, Katsura and his group about ready to fight all these people on this ship, and, you know, all of his people ready to, like, lay their lives down on the line to let Katsura go ahead to take down Takasugi, and Kagura and Shinpachi following them, and then it just hits you. It reminds you, this is still Gintama, right? When they had those goofy-ass smiles on their face. Even Gintoki at the end. God damn. This is amazing. And I've even heard this isn't even the best serious arc in Gintama. If this isn't the best serious arc in Gintama, holy shit, how good are the other ones? But that's pretty much all I had to say about this episode. Gonna get into episode 61, the last episode of the Benizakura arc. You're not gonna notice it, but I'm gonna have to wait. We have to wait a bit longer to watch this episode. Alright, like I was saying, I had to finish this last episode on a different day, but we're finally here to finish the Benizakura arc. It's been, what, 5 months? Since, 4 or 5 months since I started reacting to Gintama? Goddamn, can't believe we're already at such a great arc so far, and already over halfway through the first 100 episodes. We're still only, after we finish this, we're still only, what is it? Hold on. This is not important. But never mind, that's not as big an achievement as I thought. We're only about 16% of the way through the entirety of the Gintama series, at least in the anime, not even counting the movies. You know, the first one, the Benizakura movie, the second movie, and then the semifinals and the OVAs and the fucking final movie. Ugh. We're gonna be here for a little while, you know, but I don't know where I was going with this. I'm about to get into the last episode of the Benizakura arc, episode 61. You can see he's over. I can't. There we go, right here. My dog. He's just kind of hanging out there. Anyway, last episode of the Benizakura arc, episode 61 of Gintama. Fuck. I don't know how I'm gonna go back to a regular goofy ass Gintama episode like this. I mean, obviously I'll know when I get there, but holy shit, that was a fucking amazing arc. And you're telling me that there are gonna be serious arcs later down the line that are gonna be even better than this. What the fuck am I supposed to do? This is not okay. I can't be watching a show that's this good. Come on now. But that concludes the Benizakura arc for Gintama, and what a ride it was. And so I think, at the very least, Nizo, who was with the group is dead now. I'm not sure about the girl and the lolicon guy, but I think they're gone. And I think the sort of metaphor of the lights and the moths are a really interesting like metaphor, because that's something that's like kind of brought up in other series, like strength draws people, so like a strong person will attract people towards them, you know, that sort of thing. And I wish I could come up with an example off the top of my head, but I'm small brain. So how about Naruto? That's kind of an example of that, where all the people are attracted to Naruto for some reason. They can't really explain it. It's just something about him makes people want to help him. And so this sort of thing is really interesting, because in a way, I kind of don't think of Takazuki as a villain. You know what I mean? He's more like an anti-hero, kind of, because he kind of does have a point. It's not entirely justified. I can completely see where he's coming from with the whole corrupt society, the corrupt government that invaded, that forcibly took all of the things. And what was especially brought up in this episode, this final episode, was they had their teacher. They had their teacher taken away from them. And I'm saying this now. It's probably going to be explained later, but that teacher probably meant a whole lot to them, outside of just like teaching them, you know, swordsmanship and whatever, and teaching them the samurai way. They probably had a very deep, intimate bond or connection with this teacher, and that's why all three of them, in fact, were that's most likely the reason the three of them were so prevalent in the Amanto War, or the Joey War, whichever it's called. So, and I also thought it was really interesting how they brought up that Gintoki would be the person who would be who was the most angry back when they had their teacher taking them, which is a really interesting thing to bring up, because we've seen Gintoki occasionally get mad, but I've never really thought of him as like an angry person, you know? He's generally a very chill, laid-back person. So hearing that, like, I already knew there was going to be something in the past that led him to be a part of the war and be known as the Shido Yasa, right? Give me a second to look that up. Shido Yasha, which is, I believe, supposed to mean, let me look it up. Shidoyasha, yeah, White Demon. So that's who he's known as. I knew there was something up with him in the past, if he's known as the Shidoyasha and was a huge guy that, when we first met Katsuda, who was like the first, like, I don't know how to describe it, but the first, like, really strong person, because he's a well-known terrorist, he's got all these bombs or whatever, he's committing all these crimes. And even seeing, like, Katsuda, like, reach out in his hand and, like, ask for Gintoki to join him, and all those things that were sort of building up towards Gintoki's, like, past that we've seen so far, led me to believe, and this Benizakura arc just, like, sort of confirmed it to me, that something in this past related to the teacher that we learned a bit more about, just a tiny bit about this arc, led to Gintoki down, like, a path of darkness, you know, and filled him with anger and hate, and at some point that changed. We don't know what changed him yet. But at some point after the war, even, I think is what they said, because I think Katsuda was saying that after the war, Gintoki, like, up and disappeared on them, and they couldn't find him. At least I think that's what it was. I was reading the first volume of the Gintama manga. In between the recording of episode 58 to 60, and episode, whatchamacallit? This episode, 61. I don't think I'll be able to find it. But the point is, it's really getting me invested in continuing this series to learn more about these people. And another thing that I really liked, because I was reminded of it when I was reading the first volume of Gintama, is they were describing, like, the attraction that people feel towards people who are strong and have, like, conviction or whatever, as moths being drawn to a flame. And it's kind of like a small callback, I would think, to in the first episode, or episode 3 of the anime and chapter 1 of the manga, where after the ship crashed and Shinpachi was like saying when Tai, his sister, was telling Shinpachi to go along with Gintoki, because this will be a lot easier to find. But what was it? But it was that Shinpachi saw a light that he didn't know what Gintoki's soul was like, but he saw a glow around his soul, and that's what's attracting him to follow him, to see what happens. So it seems like Sorachi always was interested in that sort of metaphor in his storytelling, that being the idea of people having a light around them and moths, other people being attracting to it. And what's really interesting is that Takasaki's, and I don't know, let me see if I can find the specific description that he had, because he was saying something about Takasaki's being like bright and like erratic even, because of just like who he was, you know what I mean? It's bright because he's really strong, presumably. We haven't seen him fight yet, and he's got great ambition that he'll go to pretty much any lengths to achieve, you know what I mean? So, and then Gintoki's, on the other hand, is described as a very much smaller, like a smaller flame or smaller light that he couldn't even describe the color of, and even so, it still attracted a lot of people despite being smaller. So I think, and I don't think I'll be able to properly explain my thoughts, because again, small brain, not very artistic, you know what I mean? But just like, there's something special about Gintoki and the way he operates, and like that makes him, that causes other people to follow him, even though realistically, based on this light and flame metaphor, it shouldn't, because of how small and how odd the color is. You know what I mean? So I just thought that was a really interesting thing that was brought up by this show. Props to Sorachi for like being a legend, you know what I mean? Which recently I found out, because I was just looking around, and Sorachi retired after finishing Gintama, so he's not going to be doing any more manga, which is unfortunate. But honestly, that's fine. Gintama's already amazing. I'm starting to feel very confident in the idea that as I go on, I'll start that I will confidently say that Gintama's a masterpiece. Right now, I wouldn't call it a masterpiece, but I definitely really fucking love it. I've enjoyed it every step of the way. Got step up in animation. I can see the points at which people would be saying the animation goes even further. Like in the movie, it gets even better. Now, let's see, what else is in there? Okay, and then they had like a sort of sub-story. I don't know, does it count as a sub-story? With swordsmiths, and Tatsuya, I think his name is. That was a lot shorter and a bit less developed, I would say. But that was also like a really interesting thing that they talked about. Because the way I'm interpreting it is because he's a very headstrong kind of guy, Tatsuya. He wants to be an amazing, swordsmith, but the problem with the way he goes about it is that he only looks at it from one angle. He needs to make swords that are strong and good at killing people, and that's all they need to be. And that's a very negative like mindset that people have. And just because they can kill people doesn't mean that's all they can do. If I had to liken it, even though this is probably not the perfect analogy, it's kind of like human beings. Swords are kind of like human beings, and to think that swords can only be used for assassinations and killing other people, and that's all that they're capable of doing, is a very narrow-minded view of the world. And to say something like humans are all completely arrogant, brutal, cruel beings that are also like selfish, only think of themselves, while true in a lot of respects, it's a very pessimistic and negative worldview, because human beings can do a whole lot more than just those negative things. Because if they couldn't, then where the hell would we be right now? You know what I mean? So thinking of swords only as killing and only
having thoughts and feelings of murder and anger and killing and hate while you're forging the swords, because they brought it up, is your emotion and your mood and your soul all goes into the sword that you make. It's an art. It's something that you spend your life training to perfect. And so what was really cool is that, and I think they said that that Gentoki's just naturally strong, which we know because he's the Shidoyasha, I believe. I think I might be pronouncing that wrong, but he's naturally strong. But they mentioned that he was quickly like evolving at a faster rate than the Benizakura, which is really interesting too, and it just goes to show that that the data that the Benizakura was collecting on fighting and killing and whatever, that's nowhere near the kind of like data that Gintoki collects, and no, I don't, and I think, while not explicitly said, kind of implicitly described here through that, is that killing, violence, and hatred and things like that are all things that cause people to evolve. Like I was in Naruto, because I recently finished that, so that I still remember a lot of it. But one of the things that's brought up at some point, I remember, in the series is that conflict between nations and like war is what leads to evolution. So to not have that and to be in a state of peace will cause weakness and will cause the slowdown of evolution. But while I think conflict can do that, I think, and what is kind of maybe like implied, is that even though conflict can breed a lot of Jesus fucking Christ. What? Literally what? Actually nothing. Alright, well I need to try and finish what I'm trying to say, because I think I've already forgotten what I was going with that. But what is implicitly kind of trying to say here is that since humans are capable of more than hate and violence and killing, they're also capable of love, compassion, protection, and things like that. While, fuck, I don't know how to express this properly. This is frustrating, but that love and compassion and need to protect other people can help people evolve even further and even quicker than somebody who just wants to kill and destroy and that sort of thing. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any goddamn sense. I lost train of thought because my fucking dog scared me with the random barking. But, and I think it was kind of a message on how one-track minds can be very damaging to everyone. Only looking at things from one angle and not having different perspectives and things like that can lead to a lot of terrible things happening, And I think that's part of why. Prediction time. Tell me in the comments if I'm 300 IQ or if I'm a fucking idiot. But it could also be part of why Gintoki ended up being who he is now compared to during the war and during when he lost his mentor. It could be a fact of because he was so fucking mad that he was one-track mind, I need revenge, but then at some point, something, I don't know what, I don't know what it is. Do not fucking spoil me. No one's done it so far, but I just want to put that out there, because I don't know what's going to happen. But something changed him. Something in his mind, the horse blinders came off, and he saw things, he saw the bigger picture, he saw that the world is more than just revenge. The world, you know what I mean? It's more than just fighting. It's more than just anger. It's more than just violence. And that's changed him to be a much more calm type of person. So, and I don't know what it is, but immediately what I'm thinking of in my head is that flashback of the Catherine introduction episode, where Gintoki was very heavily injured, and he was just kind of hanging out in a cemetery with his back up against the gravestone for Otose's husband, and that little interaction they had with each other. That had to have been, well, I don't know when that had to have been, but that had to have been sometime near the end or at the end of the war. And so
again, can't remember off the top of my head if we've learned anything about or given hints as to what might be, you know, the end goal, or like what will be what part of the arc, what will happen to Gintoki to have him be from this angry, malicious, you know, violent kid to goofball loving father that we know him as right now. But let's see what else is to talk about, because there's probably a lot that I'm not talking about that I'm fucking completely missing, because, you know, it just happens sometimes. Going back to the humans and swords being alike analogy, I just realized. I just remembered the line from the younger version of Tetsuko where she said that she wanted to make a sword to protect. You could liken Takasugi, Katsura, and Gintoki as swords, and their teacher, I've already forgotten his name, I think it's a he, I think that's what they said. You could consider their mentor as the swordsmith. He tried to forge those three as swords, just like swords that can follow the samurai way, the samurai code, the Bushido code, you know? And then, at some point, while they were still being forged, when they were young, I assume, their teacher, their mentor, he was taken away from them, and that turned them into tools of vengeance. They turned into the one-track mind. Swords are for killing. Swords are assassins' tools. And at some point, because humans never really stop changing or growing, so following the sword analogy, forging a sword is never really over. That's not true. But stick with me here. And at some point, the three of them were on the same path. They were swords, they were tools of vengeance to get revenge on this corrupt world. But at some point, the three broke off. They changed paths. Shinsuke Takasugi, he's following the same path he was during the war. Gintoki went on a completely different path. He is now a sword to protect. He was forged into a sword that is made to protect people and not to, you know, kill or destroy. And Katsura was kind of like the middle, where he was still, when he was introduced, very much the same, or not the same, but similar to Takasugi, where Takasugi is like a mad dog with the claws to just destroy everything. You know, because he probably hates the Bakufu, the human government that surrendered. So he just wants to see the world burn, is what I'm essentially getting from what I've seen of him so far. Katsura just wanted to get rid of the Yamato and restore the country to the greatness that it was. And eventually, Katsura is becoming more of a sword to protect than he was before, which he still probably has that goal of restoring Edo to the people, the native people, and getting rid of the Yamato, but he's not like Takasugi. And they said that themselves when they were back, Gintoki and Katsura, and they made a promise. It was not a threat, that was a promise to Takasugi, that the next time they see each other, that they're going to cut him down with all their might, because through their talk, Katsura realized that Takasugi is not going to change. He's going to stay the same. He's going to be the same bloodthirsty hound with claws and just wants to destroy everything. But I wonder about that, because I think it would be very easy to go that way, to just make Takasugi the evil, pure evil villain, that the end goal of the series is to kill him. I don't think they're going to go this way at all. If I know anything about Gintama so far, it's not that simple. It was badass in the moment, but that's not going to happen. They're going to fight, obviously, but it's not going to be that simple. It's like Takasugi was saying, their relationship, the three of their relationship, it's a lot more complicated than to just call them former comrades. It's also too complicated to just simply call them enemies. You know what I mean? So it'll be really interesting to see how this develops going forward in the future. And I can already expect a really emotional moment a lot later down in the series where they're confronting each other and they have a heartfelt talk or something. I don't know if they're going to go like, they're going to be like cheesy about it or something, and Takasugi is going to realize his faults before he dies and they have an apology or something like that. Or if they're going to be, what I assume is going to happen is Takasugi isn't going to so much change his mind, but give us a better idea of why he feels the way he does. Because I already kind of sympathize with him. I understand his feelings, because losing somebody that important to you probably really sucks. What I'm gathering is that they may or may not have all been orphans who were taken in by their mentor, who they eventually lost. Basically, their whole lives were taken away from them. So I sympathize with this play. So even if he doesn't change his mind, I assume at the very least before Takasugi potentially maybe goes away in the future, you know what I mean? Goes to the big sleep, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna at least hear more about him. Because for the most part, other than my own speculation, very little was actually like explicitly said about Takasugi, and that was probably on purpose, you know what I mean? But it has me really interested to see what's going on in the future. And I wonder how much more often the Harusame is going to come into play in the future, because they were used as a way to, I assume, to let Takasugi get out safely in case shit hit the fan, which it did, where one of his like top people died, Nizo. I'm pretty sure he's dead. Or at the very least, he like has no arms now, I think, because the Benizakura. Well, yeah, no, I think he's dead. Not sure about the other two, the Lolicon and the Revolver Girl. But we know Bonsai, Mr. Bonsai is still alive. Might still be working with Otsu. No, none of our guys, none of Yorozuya or Joey Shishi, I think, is Katora's group's name, saw that he was working with them, so he can probably keep himself on, like, his identity on the down low as things go forward. But I'm really interested, again, super interested to see in the future. That bit at the end there, implying he's like gonna be a strong fighter. That's gonna be interesting to see if that goes anywhere. You know what I mean? Because he said he wants to fight Gintoki. That would at least imply to me that he could at least in some way hold his own against Gintoki. I don't know how far in the future it's gonna be, but I'm gonna be super fucking excited to get there eventually. And I hope you'll join me along the way, because if you enjoyed this video, please do press the like button and hit the subscribe button. Turn the notification bells on so you don't miss a single upload of Gintama in the future or anything else I uploaded. Thank you all so much for watching. This was incredible. Peace.